As Ethan Cole pushed his cleaning cart down the empty corridors of Westbrook University's main library, he glanced at his watch, 11:42 p.m. On a Tuesday, the building should have been completely vacant by now. His supervisor had been clear about the new security protocols. All students out by 11, no exceptions. Yet there in the far corner of the reference section, someone remained. A young woman with long blonde hair sat hunched over a pile of textbooks, her head resting on her arms. Even from a distance, Ethan could see she was fast asleep, her face pale with exhaustion. Her clothes, a faded sweater with a small hole near the elbow and well-worn jeans, told a story Ethan recognized all too well. He'd seen her before during his evening shifts, always in the same corner, always alone, always studying with an intensity that spoke of desperation rather than simple academic dedication. He'd noticed she never went to the cafeteria, never joined other students for meals. Tonight, tear stains on her cheeks caught the harsh library lighting. "Miss," Ethan said softly, his voice carrying more kindness than authority as he approached her table. "The library's closed." The young woman startled awake, her green eyes wide with panic. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll leave right away." She began gathering her books with shaking hands, clearly disoriented and afraid. "Hey, slow down," Ethan said, setting down his spray bottle and sitting across from her. Something about her reminded him of a cornered animal, desperate and ready to run. "Are you okay? You look like you haven't eaten in days." The question shattered whatever composure she'd been clinging to. Her shoulders began to shake, and tears started flowing freely. "I'm fine," she whispered, but her voice betrayed everything. I don't have anywhere to go tonight. The shelter's full, and I can't afford a hotel." Ethan felt something twist in his chest. He'd been where she was, not homeless, but close enough to understand the hollow feeling of having nowhere to turn. "Come home with me," he said quietly, surprising himself with the words. "I don't have much, but I've got a couch and some soup in the pantry. No strings attached, just a warm place to sleep and a hot meal." The young woman looked at him with such raw gratitude that Ethan had to look away. "I can't accept that. I don't even know you, and you don't know me. What if I'm dangerous?" Despite everything, Ethan managed a small smile. "Well, you're about half my size, and you've been living in the library for weeks, reading economics textbooks. I think I can take my chances." 20 minutes later, they were walking through the dimly lit streets of Oak Ridge toward Ethan's apartment building. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable. It was the quiet of two people who understood struggle without needing to explain it. "I'm Maya," she said finally as they climbed the stairs to a second-floor apartment. "Maya Wilson." "Ethan Cole," he replied, fumbling with his keys. "And fair warning, I have a 5-year-old daughter. She's asleep, but she's curious about everything. Don't be surprised if she has 100 questions for you in the morning." Maya's first smile of the night was small but genuine. The apartment was tiny, just a one-bedroom place that spoke of careful budgeting and creative space management. Ethan's janitor uniform hung on the back of a kitchen chair, still damp from his shift. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator, bright splashes of color in the modest space. "Lily's room," Ethan said, nodding toward the bedroom door. "I sleep out here." He gestured to the pull-out couch that had seen better years. "You can have the couch tonight. I'll take the floor." "Absolutely not," Maya said quickly. "You're already doing more than enough." "Lady, I'm not letting you take the floor in my own apartment. We can argue about it tomorrow." As Ethan heated up a can of vegetable soup, splitting it between two bowls even though it wasn't quite enough for one person, Maya looked around the small space with something like wonder. Every corner showed evidence of a father doing his best. Homework papers organized on a makeshift desk, tiny shoes lined up neatly by the door, a bookshelf made from stacked milk crates filled with picture books, and a few worn paperbacks. "How long have you been on your own?" Ethan asked, setting a bowl in front of her. Maya wrapped her hands around the warm ceramic, grateful for something to hold on to. 6 months, she said carefully. "There was a family disagreement. I chose independence over compromise." Ethan nodded, understanding that some stories couldn't be told all at once. "Independence is expensive." "More expensive than I thought," Maya admitted, taking a small sip of the soup and trying not to show how good it tasted after days of vending machine snacks. "I had savings, but tuition, books, housing, it goes faster than you think." What are you studying? Economics and business management. She paused, then added quietly, I wanted to prove I could make it on my own. Sounds like you're doing that. Maya let out a bitter laugh. Sleeping in libraries and accepting charity from strangers? Not exactly the success story I had in mind. Hey, asking for help isn't failure, it's survival. And there's no shame in surviving. That night, as Maya curled up on his couch under his only spare blanket, she stared at the ceiling and tried to remember the last time someone had shown her kindness without expecting anything in return. In her previous life, the one she'd walked away from 6 months ago, every gesture had come with strings attached. Every kindness had been an investment in some future return. From the kitchen, she could hear Ethan moving quietly, preparing for the next day. He'd given her his dinner, his blanket, his safety, and asked for nothing but the chance to help. She thought about the mansion in Greenwich where she'd grown up, the trust fund that had been frozen the day she'd refused to marry Harrison Porter, the father who'd given her an ultimatum that felt like choosing between her soul and her survival. She'd chosen her soul. Tonight, she wasn't sure if that made her brave or foolish. Maya Wilson had not always been Maya Wilson. For the first 22 years of her life, she'd been Sophia Reynolds, only daughter of William Reynolds, real estate mogul and one of the wealthiest men in New England. She'd grown up in a 20-room mansion overlooking Long Island Sound, attended the finest private schools, and never wanted for anything material. Except freedom. Her father had planned every aspect of her life, from the prestigious economics degree at Yale to the carefully selected social circle of other wealthy families. The final piece of his grand plan had been her marriage to Harrison Porter, son of James Porter, CEO of Porter Development Corporation. The merger of Reynolds Enterprises and Porter Development would create the largest real estate development company on the East Coast. The marriage of their children would seal the deal in the most traditional way possible. Maya could still remember the night her father had called her into his study 6 months ago. The heavy oak desk, the leather chairs, the portrait of her mother who had died when Maya was 12. William Reynolds, silver-haired and commanding, had laid out the future as if it were already written. The wedding will be next June after you graduate. The Porter boy is a bit dull, but he's manageable. You'll live in the Connecticut house until the children come, then move to the estate in Greenwich. She'd stood there, 22 years old, watching her life being mapped out without her input. Something inside her, something that had been bending for years, finally broke. No, her father had looked up from his calendar, genuinely surprised. I beg your pardon. I said no, I won't marry Harrison. I don't love him. I barely know him. William Reynolds had laughed, the indulgent chuckle he used when he thought she was being naive. Love has nothing to do with it, Sophia. This is business. This is your future. It's not my future. It's yours, your business, your plan. I want to make my own choices. The argument had escalated quickly. Her father, unused to being defied, had moved from disbelief to anger to cold, calculated threat. You have two options, Sophia. You marry Harrison as planned, or you're cut off. No trust fund, no allowance, no support of any kind. You want independence? Let's see how well you do on your own. He'd expected her to back down. She'd surprised them both by walking out the door that night with nothing but a backpack of clothes and the cash in her wallet. The next day, she changed her name, dyed her hair, and disappeared into the anonymous mass of college students at Westbrook University, 3 states away. Her savings had lasted 4 months. Then reality had set in, hard and fast. The library had become her refuge when she could no longer afford housing. The vending machines her dining hall when the meal plan ran out. And now, by some miracle, she'd found herself in the tiny apartment of a janitor and his daughter, being offered more genuine kindness than she'd experienced in years. The next morning, Maya woke to the sound of small feet padding across the floor and whispered voices from the kitchen. Daddy, who's the lady on our couch? The voice was bright and curious, belonging to someone clearly unafraid of the world. Her name's Maya, sweetheart. She needed a place to stay for the night. Is she nice? I think so, but maybe you can help me figure that out. Maya smiled despite herself and sat up slowly. A little girl with dark curls and bright eyes peered around the corner at her, wearing pajamas covered in cartoon princesses. Hi, the child said shyly. I'm Lily. Are you having breakfast with us? If that's okay with your dad, Maya said, glancing toward the kitchen where Ethan was flipping what looked like the world's thinnest pancakes. It's more than okay. Hope you like pancakes. Fair warning, they're mostly flour and hope. The three of them squeezed around a small table that was clearly meant for two, sharing pancakes that were indeed more hope than substance, but tasted better than anything Maya had eaten in months. Lily chattered about school, about her teacher, Miss Martinez, about the picture she was drawing of a castle where princesses could be anything they wanted to be. What do you want to be when you grow up? Maya asked, charmed by the child's enthusiasm. A veterinarian who's also a teacher, who's also a princess, Lily said seriously. Daddy says I can be anything I want if I work hard enough. Maya glanced at Ethan, who was watching his daughter with such pure love that it made her chest ache. When was the last time someone had looked at her that way? When was the last time she'd felt like someone's whole world? After breakfast, as Ethan got ready for work and Lily prepared for school, Maya started to gather her things. Where are you going? Lily asked, looking concerned. Back to the library. I think I have studying to do. But you don't have anywhere to sleep, Lily said with the devastating honesty of a 5-year-old. Daddy, she doesn't have anywhere to sleep. Ethan paused in tying his work boots. You could stay another night if you want, until you figure something out. Maya felt tears threatening again. I can't keep imposing on you. You're not imposing, Ethan said quietly. You're just here, and that's okay. As Ethan walked Lily to the bus stop, Maya took a quick shower, her first in days, and changed back into her worn clothes. She was folding the blanket Ethan had lent her when Lily came racing back into the apartment, followed by Ethan. Maya, I forgot to ask you something important, Lily announced, her backpack still bouncing. What's that, sweetheart? Are you a princess? You have yellow hair like a princess. Maya laughed, caught off guard by the question. No, I'm not a princess. What made you think that? You talk fancy sometimes, and you're pretty, and you know about money stuff. Maya thought about how to answer, aware that Ethan was watching, his expression gentle. I'm not a princess, Lily. I'm just someone who's learning to write her own story. Like when we make up stories at bedtime. Exactly like that. Sometimes we get to decide what happens next in our own stories. Lily nodded, accepting this with the easy wisdom of childhood. I like your story now, the part with us in it. Maya felt something catch in her throat. I like this part too. After Lily had been safely deposited at her kindergarten class, Ethan walked Maya to campus. What's your plan? He asked as they approached the main quad. Maya hesitated. The truth was, she didn't have one beyond surviving another day. I have some job applications out. Something should come through soon. You're welcome to stay with us until it does. She looked at him, searching for the catch, the hidden agenda, the thing he wasn't saying. But his face was open, his eyes clear. Why are you doing this? Ethan shrugged, a simple gesture that somehow contained years of understanding. Because someone did it for me once. When Lily was just a baby and her mom left us, I didn't know which way was up. My neighbor, old Mr. Gaines, gave us a place to stay until I got back on my feet. Called it paying it forward. Guess I'm just passing along the favor. Maya stood there, her worn backpack slung over one shoulder, feeling something shift inside her. I'll cook dinner tonight, she said finally. It's not much, but it's something I can do. Deal, Ethan said, and the smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes made Maya's heart do a strange little flip. That evening, using the meager ingredients in Ethan's pantry, Maya managed to put together a simple pasta dish that made Lily declare her the best cook in the whole universe, even better than the lunch ladies at school. It wasn't much, pasta, canned tomatoes, dried herbs, but it was the first thing she'd cooked for anyone else in months, and the simple act of providing something, of giving back even this small gesture, filled her with a warmth she hadn't expected. As they washed dishes together, Ethan's hands deep in the soapy water, while Maya dried, she found herself studying his profile. The strong line of his jaw, the slight crow's feet around his eyes that spoke of a man who smiled despite hardship, the careful way he handled even the chipped plates as if they were precious. You've been doing this alone for a long time, she said softly. Ethan glanced at her, then back at the dishes. 5 years, since Lily was 6 months old. Her mom decided family life wasn't for her, packed up and left us both. Maya felt a flash of anger toward this unknown woman who could walk away from such a good man, such a beautiful child. I'm sorry. Don't be. Took me a while, but I figured out we're better off. Lily deserves someone who wants to be her mom, not someone who resents every minute of it. There was no bitterness in his voice, just the quiet acceptance of a man who had faced reality and found a way to make peace with it. Maya admired that more than she could express. One night became 3, then a week, then longer. Maya found a job in the college's financial aid office, minimum wage. But it was something. She insisted on contributing what she could to groceries, to utilities, to the small expenses that kept their makeshift family afloat. What amazed her most was how easily she fit into their rhythm. She walked Lily to school when Ethan had early shifts, helped with homework in the evenings, read bedtime stories with different voices for each character. On a Wednesday afternoon, 3 weeks after Maya had arrived, she was helping a first-generation college student understand his financial aid package when her supervisor, Mrs. Henderson, called her into the office. Maya, the older woman, said, "I've been watching your work these past few weeks. You have a real gift for explaining complex financial matters in ways students can understand." "Thank you," Maya said, surprised by the praise. "We have an opening for a part-time assistant financial counselor. It's still hourly, but it's $1.50 more than you're making now, and it could lead to a full-time position after graduation. I'd like to recommend you for it." Maya felt a surge of pride, of accomplishment, of validation that had nothing to do with her family name or her father's connections. This was something she'd earned entirely on her own merit. "I'd be honored," she said, and meant it. That evening, she told Ethan and Lily her news over a dinner of chicken soup made from scratch, another skill she'd been teaching herself from YouTube videos on the library computers. "That's amazing, Maya," Ethan said, his genuine pride in her achievement warming her more than the soup ever could. "We should celebrate." "Ice cream," Lily suggested immediately. "Ice cream it is," Ethan agreed. And later, as they walked to the small ice cream shop 3 blocks away, Maya found herself thinking that this simple pleasure, this small family, this moment of uncomplicated joy was worth more than all the luxury she'd left behind. Maya brought organization to Ethan's chaotic schedule, helped him study for the night classes he was taking to become a building supervisor. His textbooks were well-worn, borrowed from the campus library or purchased secondhand, full of his neat, precise notes in the margins. She was struck by his determination, his quiet persistence in bettering himself not for fame or recognition, but for the simple goal of providing a better life for his daughter. The building supervisor position would mean regular hours, he explained one night as they sat at the kitchen table, his maintenance manual spread between them, and a $4 raise, maybe enough to move to a 2-bedroom place when the lease is up. "You're good at this," Maya said, impressed by his knowledge of electrical systems and building codes. "How did you get into maintenance work?" "My dad was a handyman," Ethan said, a fond smile crossing his face. "Could fix anything with a motor or a moving part. I grew up following him around shows, holding his toolbox, learning how things work. After high school, I did some construction, then got into facility maintenance. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. And there's satisfaction in fixing things, taking something broken and making it work again." Maya thought about that, about the simple dignity in what he did, the tangible results of his labor. In her father's world, success was measured in acquisitions and profit margins, in deals closed and competitors crushed. Ethan's success was measured in lights that came on when a switch was flipped, in heaters that kept children warm in winter, in doors that opened safely when pushed. "I think that's beautiful," she said honestly. Ethan looked up, surprised. Most people don't see it that way. Most people are missing a lot. One evening in late March, after Lily had gone to bed, Maya surprised Ethan by taking out a notebook filled with neat columns of numbers. "I've been looking at our expenses," she said, spreading the pages on the kitchen table. "I think I've found a way we can save enough for you to cut back on weekend shifts. Maybe even put a little aside for Lily's college fund." Ethan stared at the pages, at the careful calculations and thoughtful planning. "You did all this?" Maya nodded, suddenly uncertain. "Is that okay? I didn't mean to overstep." Instead of answering, Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. No one's ever cared enough to do something like this for us before. I care, Maya said simply. I care about both of you more than I thought possible. As spring bloomed across campus, bringing with it the scent of new possibilities, Maya found herself thinking less and less about the life she'd left behind. The mansion in Greenwich, the trust fund, the carefully planned future, they all seemed like artifacts from someone else's life. This small apartment in Oak Ridge, with its crayon drawings on the refrigerator and the sound of Lily's laughter, had become more home to her than anywhere she'd ever lived. 3 months after that fateful night in the library, Maya had become an essential part of their small family. She and Ethan had fallen into a partnership that felt as natural as breathing. They moved around each other in the tiny kitchen with the ease of dancers who knew each other's rhythms by heart. They shared responsibilities for Lily, who had taken to calling Maya "my Maya" with possessive affection. Their relationship had deepened into something neither had expected, a connection that went beyond the convenience of shared living arrangements or the practical benefits of combined resources. They made each other laugh. They challenged each other's perspectives. They built something together day by day in small moments of kindness and understanding. On a mild evening in April, after Lily had been tucked into bed with 3 stories and 2 goodnight kisses, one from Daddy and one from my Maya, Ethan and Maya sat together on the small balcony outside the apartment, sharing a cheap bottle of wine they'd splurged on to celebrate his successful midterm exam. "Do you ever think about what you want from life?" Maya asked, looking up at the few stars visible through the city lights. "Your dreams? Your fears?" Ethan was quiet for a moment, considering the question. "I used to have big dreams," he said finally. "Travel the world, maybe start my own business someday. But now, honestly, I just want to give Lily a good life, a safe home, enough food, the chance to follow her own dreams wherever they take her." He took a sip of wine, his eyes reflective. "My biggest fear is letting her down, not being enough for her." The simplicity of his answer, the pure love it contained, made Maya's heart ache. "You're more than enough," she said softly. "She adores you." "What about you?" Ethan asked. What did Maya Wilson want from life before she ended up with a janitor and a 5-year-old roommate? Maya thought about the question, about the person she'd been and the person she was becoming. "I wanted freedom," she said finally, "the chance to make my own choices, good or bad, to find out who I am when no one's telling me who I should be." She looked at him, this man who had never tried to control her, who accepted her exactly as she was. "And now I want this life, this family. You." The words hung between them, honest and raw, a confession neither had planned to make. "I don't need a fancy life," Ethan said, his voice low and intense. "I just need enough so Lily doesn't have to worry about things a kid shouldn't have to worry about." Maya looked at him, this man who worked so hard, who gave so much of himself to make a good life for his daughter, who had opened his home to a stranger without question. "I lived in wealth my whole life," she said quietly, "but I never felt at home until I came here." "I love you," Ethan said simply, as if he were commenting on the weather. "And Lily loves you too. We both do." Maya's smile faded, replaced by something deeper and more vulnerable. "Ethan, You don't have to say anything back," he interrupted gently. "I just wanted you to know. You've made our lives better in every way. And I want you to understand how grateful I am that you trust us enough to share your life with us." Instead of answering with words, Maya rose slightly and kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. In that quiet moment, under the scattered stars, they sealed a bond that had been forming since that first night in the library. The next day, as they walked home from the library together, Maya having stayed late to use the computers for research while Ethan worked his shift, with Lily skipping between them, they felt like a real family. Lily had run ahead to catch the season's first fireflies, darting between the streetlights with the boundless energy of childhood. Ethan reached for Maya's hand, threading their fingers together as naturally as if they'd been doing it for years. The simple contact, the warmth of his palm against hers, filled her with a contentment she'd never known. In that perfect instant, standing in the gentle spring twilight outside their modest apartment building, they felt like a real family, richer than any amount of money could make them. But their happiness was being watched. If you've ever wondered what real love looks like, you are about to find out. But sometimes the past doesn't stay buried, and what was coming would test everything they'd built together. For 3 months, they lived in blissful ignorance of the storm gathering around them. Maya had found her rhythm in the financial aid office, helping other struggling students navigate the complex world of loans and scholarships. Her intelligence shone through everything she touched. She could spot patterns and data that others missed, could explain complicated financial concepts in ways that made sense to desperate 18-year-olds facing their first real adult decisions. Ethan watched her work sometimes when he came to empty the trash cans, amazed by her natural ability to command respect and trust from both students and administrators. There was something about the way she carried herself, a quiet dignity that spoke of inner strength, that made him wonder sometimes about the life she'd left behind. But he never pressed for details. Everyone had secrets, had pain they weren't ready to share. What mattered was who she was with him, with Lily, in the small apartment that had become their sanctuary. Their evenings fell into a comfortable rhythm. Dinner around their small table, Lily chattering about school, while Ethan and Maya shared glances over her head, the kind of looks that passed between people who were falling deeper in love every day. After Lily went to bed, they would sit together on the couch, Maya helping Ethan with his coursework or simply talking about their days, their dreams, their hopes for the future. Money was always tight, but somehow they made it work. Maya's paycheck covered her share of groceries and utilities. Ethan's wages paid the rent and Lily's needs. Together, they were surviving in a way that felt sustainable, even hopeful. It was on a warm spring morning in May that the first crack appeared in their perfect world. Ethan was returning from his shift, looking forward to their Saturday morning ritual. Pancakes if they could afford it, toast if they couldn't, but always together around their small table. As he approached their building, he noticed a black sedan parked across the street, its windows tinted dark enough to hide whoever sat inside. He thought nothing of it until he saw it again the next day and the day after that. "Probably someone visiting Mrs. Chen," Maya said when he mentioned it, but her voice carried a tension that hadn't been there before. By the end of the week, Ethan was sure they were being watched. The sedan changed positions, but never left the neighborhood. Sometimes it was a different car entirely, a gray SUV, a dark blue minivan, but always with those tinted windows, always positioned where they could monitor the building. Maya had started looking over her shoulder when they walked to and from the college. She jumped at unexpected sounds, grew quiet during meals. Lily, with the intuition that children have for adult anxiety, began clinging more tightly to both of them. "Maya," Ethan said one night after Lily had gone to bed, "if there's something you need to tell me, something from your past that might be catching up with us, now would be a good time." She was quiet for so long that Ethan thought she might not answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "My name isn't really Maya Wilson," she said, not meeting his eyes. "It's Sophia Reynolds. My father is William Reynolds." The name hit Ethan like a physical blow. Even someone who didn't follow business news knew that name. William Reynolds, real estate mogul, one of the richest men in America. His face had been on the cover of Time magazine just last year. "Your father is," Ethan couldn't finish the sentence, "worth about $300 million. Yes." Maya's voice was flat, emotionless. "I walked away from all of it 6 months ago when he tried to force me into an arranged marriage. He gave me an ultimatum: marry Harrison Porter and secure a business merger or be disowned completely. I chose independence." Ethan stared at her, his mind reeling. "You're telling me you gave up millions of dollars to work minimum wage in a college financial aid office?" "I gave up millions of dollars to have the right to choose my own life, to fall in love with who I wanted to fall in love with, to be valued for who I am, not what I'm worth. And you think he's found you?" "I know he's found me." Maya finally looked at him and her eyes were filled with fear. "Those cars, the watching, that's his style. He's probably been planning his next move for weeks." Ethan felt a cold dread settling in his stomach. "What kind of next move?" "I don't know." But Maya's voice suggested she had some very specific fears. "He's not someone who accepts defeat easily, and he's not someone who cares much about collateral damage." Ethan reached across the coffee table and took her hands in his. They were cold despite the warm spring evening. Hey, look at me. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. I'm not going anywhere. Maya's eyes filled with tears. That's what I'm afraid of. You don't know my father. He can destroy people's lives with a phone call. I couldn't bear it if he hurt you or Lily because of me. Do you want to leave? The question cost Ethan everything to ask, but he had to give her the choice. If you think that would keep us safer, I understand. No, Maya said immediately, tightening her grip on his hands. Running away won't solve anything. He'd just find me again. And I won't give up what we have here. Not for him, not for anyone. The determination in her voice was the same steel that had carried her away from a life of privilege and into the unknown. Ethan recognized it, respected it, and loved her all the more for it. Then we stand our ground, he said simply. Together. That night they slept little, both lying awake in the darkness, thinking about what tomorrow might bring. In the morning, Ethan walked Lily to school as usual, his eyes scanning the street for unfamiliar cars, his body tense with protective vigilance. Maya went to her job at the financial aid office, jumping at shadows, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But nothing happened. Not that day or the next. The watching cars remained, a silent, menacing presence, but made no move. The waiting became its own kind of torture. On the third day after Maya's confession, Ethan was walking home from his early morning shift, his mind preoccupied with the strange cars and Maya's revelations, when a tall man in an expensive suit stepped out from between two parked cars. Mr. Cole? Ethan Cole? Ethan stopped, his body instantly alert. The man was in his 60s, silver-haired and commanding, with the unmistakable bearing of someone accustomed to power. Even without an introduction, Ethan knew exactly who he was looking at. Mr. Reynolds, I presume. He kept his voice level, refusing to show intimidation. William Reynolds raised an eyebrow, surprised to be recognized. My reputation precedes me. Your daughter described you perfectly. A flash of something, anger, disappointment, crossed the older man's face. Ah, yes, my daughter. Or should I call her Maya Wilson now? Such a pedestrian name for a Reynolds. What do you want? Ethan wasn't in the mood for games. I want what any father wants. I want my daughter to come home where she belongs. She doesn't seem to think that's where she belongs. William's smile was cold. And you think she belongs with you? A janitor living in a one-bedroom apartment with a child? Please, Sophia was raised in luxury. She attended the finest schools. She was destined for greatness. Maya, Ethan emphasized the name, is already great. She's smart, kind, hardworking. She doesn't need a mansion or a trust fund to prove her worth. William studied Ethan with calculating eyes. Let's get to the point, shall we? How much? Excuse me? How much do you want to walk away? Everyone has a price, Mr. Cole. Name yours. Ethan felt a surge of anger that made his hands clench into fists. I'm not for sale, Mr. Reynolds, and neither is Maya. Don't be naive. William's voice hardened. I know men like you. You see a vulnerable young woman from a wealthy family and think you've hit the jackpot. What's your end game here? Marriage? Access to her trust fund? I love your daughter for who she is, not for your money or her last name. William laughed, a sound devoid of humor. Love? How quaint. Do you think love will pay your bills? Put your daughter through college? Provide the life that Sophia is accustomed to? Maybe not, but it gives us something your money can't buy. Happiness. The older man's face darkened. You know nothing about my daughter or what makes her happy. I know she smiles when she reads bedtime stories to Lily. I know she hums when she cooks, even if it's just canned soup. I know she's proud of the job she got on her own merit, not her family connections. Ethan took a step closer, his voice low but intense. Do you know any of those things about her, Mr. Reynolds? For a moment, William seemed genuinely taken aback. Then his expression hardened again. This conversation is pointless. I came to give you a warning, Mr. Cole. Walk away now while you still can. I have the resources to make your life very difficult. Your job, your apartment, your custody of your daughter, all of it can be taken away. Ice flooded Ethan's veins at the mention of Lily. Are you threatening my child? I'm simply pointing out realities. A single father with an unstable living situation might not fare well in family court, especially against a team of top-tier lawyers. Ethan's voice was dangerously quiet. If you come anywhere near my daughter, there isn't enough money in the world to protect you. William smiled thinly. Touching, but unnecessary. All I want is for Sophia to come to her senses and return home. You have 1 week to convince her. After that, I stopped playing nice. He turned and walked toward a black sedan waiting at the curb, then paused. Oh, and Mr. Cole, I'd start looking for a new job if I were you. Your supervisor, Mr. Harrington, is an old golf buddy of mine. Such a shame about those budget cuts coming to the maintenance department. Ethan stood rooted to the spot, watching as William Reynolds slid into the back seat of the luxury car and disappeared behind tinted windows. The sedan pulled away smoothly, leaving nothing but a knot of dread in Ethan's stomach. He should have been frightened, should have been thinking about what this meant for his wall, his home, his future. Instead, all he felt was a burning determination. William Reynolds might have money and power, but Ethan had something the older man clearly didn't: Maya's love and trust, and he would fight with everything he had to be worthy of both. That evening, Ethan told Maya about the encounter as they washed dishes together after Lily had gone to bed. Her face paled as he recounted William's threats, particularly the one concerning Lily. He wouldn't really try to take her from you, Maya whispered, horrified. Even he wouldn't go that far. Ethan wasn't so sure. He seemed pretty determined to get what he wants, and what he wants is you back under his control. Maya's hands trembled as she dried a plate. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I never meant to bring this into your life, into Lily's life. Maybe I should— Don't, Ethan interrupted firmly. Don't say you should leave. That's exactly what he wants. To isolate you, to make you feel like you have no choice but to go back to him. But what if he follows through on his threats? What if you lose your tree? What if he somehow tries to take Lily? I couldn't live with myself. Ethan set down the dish he was washing and turned to face her, taking her soapy hands in his. Maya, listen to me. I've been on my own since I was 16. My old man drank himself to death, and my mom wasn't much better. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through community college. I survived Lily's mom walking out when she was 6 months old. I've been knocked down plenty of times, but I always get back up. Your father doesn't scare me. He should, Maya said quietly. He's ruined people for less than what he thinks you've done. What does he think I've done? Stolen his property. The bitterness in Maya's voice was palpable. That's how he sees me, as something that belongs to him, an asset to be leveraged in his business dealings. Well, he's wrong. You're not property, you're not an asset, and you don't belong to him. You belong to yourself. And if you choose to share your life with me and Lily, that's your decision, not his. Maya's eyes shimmered with tears. I do choose you, both of you. I just don't want you to suffer because of my choice. Hey, Ethan tipped her chin up gently. We're in this together now. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. The next morning brought the first ripple of William Reynolds' retaliation. Ethan was called into his supervisor's office before his shift even began. Cole, there's no easy way to say this. Mr. Harrington avoided meeting his eyes. We're going to have to let you go. Despite expecting it, the words still hit Ethan like a physical blow. Budget cuts, right? Harrington had the grace to look ashamed. Look, you're one of my best workers. I fought for you, but the decision came from above, way above. From a golf buddy of yours, maybe? Harrington's head snapped up. I don't know what you are talking about. Sure you don't. Ethan stood up. I'll clean out my locker. There's 2 weeks severance, Harrington said, sliding an envelope across the desk. It's not much, but it's something. Ethan took the envelope. It wasn't Harrington's fault, not really. When a man like William Reynolds wanted something done, people fell in line. Thanks. As he walked out of the maintenance office for the last time, Ethan felt a strange calm. He'd been expecting this. The question was, what would Reynolds target next? He didn't have to wait long to find out. That afternoon, Maya came home early from her job at the financial aid office, her face tight with anger and hurt. Let me guess, Ethan said as she walked through the door. Budget cuts? Apparently there were irregularities in my employment paperwork. The air quotes she made with her fingers dripped with sarcasm. Mrs. Henderson was in tears. She knows it's bullshit, but her hands were tied. I got fired this morning. Maya's face crumpled. I'm so sorry, Ethan. This is all my fault. Hey, no. He pulled her into a hug. This is your father's fault, not yours. Never yours. They stood there for a moment, drawing strength from each other. Then Maya pulled back, wiping her eyes. What are we going to do? What we always do, adapt and overcome. Ethan tried to sound more confident than he felt. I've already put in applications at every maintenance and construction company in a 50-mile radius. Something will come through. He'll block those too. He's got connections everywhere. Then I'll find something he can't touch. Day labor, cash jobs, whatever it takes. Maya nodded, taking a deep breath. I can tutor. Economics, finance, business classes. There's always students willing to pay for help, especially with finals coming up. See, we've got this. Ethan managed to smile. We just need to hang on until we figure out our next move. But William Reynolds wasn't done with them yet. The next day, a formal eviction notice appeared on their door. Their landlord, Mr. Peterson, who had always been understanding about late rent payments, suddenly decided he needed to renovate their building and gave them 30 days' notice to find a new place. In a town like Cedar Falls, with their credit history and suddenly non-existent income, finding affordable housing was nearly impossible. They spent days calling every apartment complex, every rental agency, but as soon as they gave their names, the answer was always the same. Nothing available. He's blacklisted us, Maya said after the 10th rejection call. He's making it impossible for us to stay here. They finally found a place through a friend of a friend, a tiny efficiency apartment in a rundown building on the edge of town, in a neighborhood that made Ethan nervous about walking alone after dark. The rent was cheaper, but so was everything else about it. The plumbing that groaned and sputtered, the windows that didn't quite close all the way, the paper-thin walls that let in every argument from the neighbors. Moving day was a study in downsizing. Their old apartment had been small, but this new place was barely big enough for the three of them. They had to get rid of furniture, clothes, books, anything that wouldn't fit in the cramped space. Lily, who had been remarkably resilient through all the changes, finally broke down when she realized they couldn't bring her small bookshelf. But where will my books live? She asked, her lower lip trembling. Ethan knelt down to her level. We'll find a special place for them, Lilypad. Maybe we can put up some shelves on the wall, make them a new home. Promise, promise. Maya watched the exchange, her heart breaking. This beautiful child who deserves so much more than a dingy efficiency apartment and parents scraping by on odd jobs was suffering because of her father's vindictiveness, because she'd had the audacity to want to live her own life. That night, after they'd moved the last of their belongings into the new place, and Lily had finally fallen asleep on a mattress on the floor of what would be their shared bedroom, Maya and Ethan sat on the threadbare couch that now served as both seating and their bed. I went by the financial aid office today, Maya said quietly. Mrs. Henderson told me that my father came to see her personally, threatened to withdraw a major donation to the university if they didn't fire me. Ethan's jaw tightened. That sounds like him. She also said he's been asking questions about you, about Lily. Maya's voice shook slightly. Ethan, I'm scared. What if he really does try to take her from you? He'd have no grounds. He doesn't need grounds. He has money, lots of it. He could hire investigators, find anything from your past, twist it to make you look unfit. Ethan was quiet for a moment. I'm not perfect, Maya. I've made mistakes, but I have always put Lily first. And always. No judge in the world could look at her and not see that she's happy, healthy, loved. Judges can be bought. Not all of them. Ethan reached for her hand. Besides, we're not going to let it get that far. We'll figure this out. But over the next 2 weeks, the pressure mounted relentlessly. Ethan picked up whatever work he could find, day labor on construction sites, evening shifts at a gas station, weekend gigs helping people move. But it was never enough. Every place he applied for a permanent position mysteriously had no openings or found a more qualified candidate at the last minute. Maya tutored struggling business students for cash, charging less than the going rate because she knew they were as broke as she was. She'd walk to the campus library to meet them, refusing to let them come to the apartment, partly out of shame and partly out of fear that they'd report back to her father. Through it all, they tried to shield Lily from the worst of it. They kept her routine as normal as possible. School, homework, bedtime stories. But children are perceptive, and Lily sensed the tension that filled their small home. One evening, as Ethan was heating up soup for dinner, their third meal of canned soup that week because it was all they could afford, Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy?" "Yes, lily pad." "Are we going to be okay?" The simple question, asked with such innocent concern, nearly broke him. Ethan set down the can opener and knelt to her level. "Of course we are, sweetheart. Why do you ask?" "You and Maya look sad sometimes, and we eat a lot of soup now, and my new school doesn't have a nice playground like my old one." Ethan pulled her into a hug, his throat tight. "We're just going through a tough time right now, Lily. But we're together, and that's what matters. As long as we have each other, we'll be okay." Lily nodded against his shoulder, then pulled back to look at him seriously. "Is it because of Maya's dad? I heard you talking when you thought I was asleep." Ethan exchanged a glance with Maya, who had frozen in the doorway. They'd been so careful not to discuss William in front of Lily. "It's complicated, sweetie," Maya said, coming to kneel beside them. "My dad and I don't agree on some important things. He wants me to live one way, and I want to live another. Like when I want to wear my princess dress to school and you say I have to wear regular clothes." Despite everything, Maya laughed. "Something like that, but bigger." "Is he mad at you?" "Yes, he is." "Is he mad at Daddy too?" Maya hesitated. "Yes, a little bit." "Is he mad at me?" Lily's voice was small. "No, sweetie, of course not." Maya gathered the little girl into her arms. "He doesn't even know you. If he did, he'd love you, just like I do." "Then why is he being mean to us?" It was such a simple question, and yet Maya found she had no simple answer. "How do you explain the complexities of control, pride, and power to a 5-year-old? "Sometimes," Ethan said carefully, "grown-ups forget what's really important. They get so focused on what they want that they don't see how their actions hurt other people." Lily considered this. "Like when Tommy pushes kids at recess because he wants the swing?" "Exactly like that. Only grown-ups should know better." "Maybe he needs a timeout," Lily suggested seriously, and both Ethan and Maya burst into surprised laughter. "Maybe he does," Maya agreed, feeling some of the tension leave her body for the first time in days. Leave it to a child to reduce the fearsome William Reynolds to a playground bully in need of a timeout. The momentary lightness didn't last long. The next day, Maya was in the campus library, tutoring a freshman struggling with microeconomics, when a familiar figure appeared at their table. "Hello, Sophia." Maya's head snapped up at the sound of her father's voice. William Reynolds stood there in an immaculate suit, looking completely out of place among the casually dressed students. "Maya," she corrected automatically, her voice steady despite the rapid pounding of her heart. "My name is Maya now." William's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Of course, Maya. How quaint." Her student, a nervous young man named Tyler, looked between them in confusion. Should I go?" "Yes," William said at the same moment Maya said, "No." Tyler began gathering his books anyway. I'll text you to reschedule." As he hurried away, William took his vacated seat. "Tutoring now, are we? How the mighty have fallen." "I'm helping students understand complex economic principles," Maya replied. "It's honest work, something you wouldn't recognize." Such hostility. William leaned back, studying her. "You look thin. That apartment you're living in now, if it can be called that, is hardly adequate. And the neighborhood. Really, Sophia, what are you trying to prove?" "I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm living my life on my terms." "And how's that working out for you? Working for minimum wage, living in squalor, dating a janitor?" "Former janitor," Maya interrupted coldly. "Thanks to you." William waved a dismissive hand. "He was beneath you anyway." "No, he's not. Ethan works harder than anyone I've ever known. He takes care of his daughter. He goes to night school. He fixes things with his hands that actually help people." "What do you do, Dad? Buy companies? Destroy lives? Force your daughter into marriages she doesn't want?" William's expression hardened. "Everything I've ever done has been for your benefit, to secure your future, to give you the life you deserve. The life you think I deserve. Did you ever once ask what I wanted? You don't know what you want. You're young, naive. I'm 22 years old enough to make my own choices. Clearly not, if this is where those choices have led you." William leaned forward, his voice dropping. This little rebellion has gone on long enough, Sophia. It's time to come home. I am home, Maya said firmly. I found my home with Ethan and Lily. They love me for who I am, not what I'm worth to them. Love, William practically spat the word. You think that janitor loves you? He loves what you represent. A ticket out of his pathetic life. Access to your trust fund, your connections, your future inheritance. He doesn't even know about any of that. Not until you started your little campaign of terror. Then he's an even bigger fool than I thought. But it doesn't matter. Your little fantasy life is over. William's voice turned cold. I've been patient. I've given you time to come to your senses. But my patience has limits. What does that mean? It means you have 1 week to end this ridiculous charade and come home. If you don't, I'll destroy everything you think you care about here. Maya felt a chill run through her. You already took our bounds, our apartment. What more can you do? Oh, Sophia, William's smile was terrifying in its certainty. I've barely begun. That man you're so fond of, did you know he has a juvenile record? Sealed, of course, but nothing a good lawyer can't access. And child services is so overworked these days. One anonymous tip about unsafe living conditions, about a father working 3 jobs with no adequate childcare arrangement. You wouldn't, but Maya knew he would. Her father had never made an idle threat in his life. 1 week, William repeated, standing up. Come home, and all this goes away. Your janitor gets his job back. The child stays with him. Everyone wins, except me. You'll thank me someday. William straightened his already perfect tie. The Porter merger is still on the table, by the way. Harrison's family has been very understanding about your emotional difficulties. The wedding can still happen this summer. Maya felt sick. I will never marry Harrison Porter. We'll see. William turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. I've had my investigator watching you for months. Did you know your boyfriend meets with a woman every Tuesday afternoon? Quite an attractive brunette. They seem very familiar with each other. With that parting shot, William walked away, leaving Maya sitting alone at the library table, her mind reeling. She knew he was lying about Ethan. He had to be. It was just another manipulation tactic. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and try as she might, she couldn't quite shake it. That evening, Maya returned to their apartment to find Ethan and Lily sitting at their small table, eating macaroni and cheese by candlelight. What's all this? She asked, setting down her bag. Fancy dinner night, Lily announced proudly. Daddy said we needed something special. Something, Ethan corrected gently. And we did. It's been a rough couple of weeks. I thought we could use a reminder that not everything has to be doom and gloom. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Here was this man who had lost his gym, his apartment, nearly everything because of her, and he was still finding ways to create joy for his daughter, for her. I saw my father today, she said as they ate, after Lily had finished telling her about the day's kindergarten adventures and gone to play with her dolls in the corner of the room. Ethan's expression darkened. What did he want? The same thing. Me, back under his control, preferably married off to Harrison Porter by summer. And what did you tell him? To go to hell, though not in those exact words. Ethan smiled grimly. Good. He threatened you, said he'd dig up your juvenile record, call child services about Lily. The smile vanished. My juvenile record is sealed. He says his lawyers can unseal it. Ethan set down his fork. It was nothing, Maya. Teenage stupidity. Joyriding in a friend's car without permission when I was 15. Community service and a stern lecture from the judge. It doesn't matter what it was. He'll twist it, use it against you. Maya pushed her plate away, her appetite gone. And he said something else. Something about you meeting a brunette woman every Tuesday. Ethan's eyebrows shot up. A brunette woman? He's had someone watching us, following us. He said you seemed familiar with her. Understanding dawned on Ethan's face. Teresa, my advisor at the community college. I meet with her every Tuesday to go over my coursework for the building management certification. Relief washed over Maya. I knew he was lying. Of course he was. Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. Maya, I would never betray you like that. Never. I know. And she did know, in her heart. But William's tactics were effective precisely because they targeted insecurities, planted seeds of doubt in already fertile soil. He gave me 1 week to come home, or he escalates. What does that mean exactly? I don't know, but I'm scared, Ethan. Not for me, but for you and Lily. He won't stop. He'll take everything from you just to punish me. The candle between them flickered, casting shadows across Ethan's face. Let him try. Later that night, after Lily was asleep on her mattress in the corner of the bedroom, Maya and Ethan lay side by side on the pull-out couch, both staring at the ceiling, neither able to sleep. The apartment was quiet except for the occasional muffled sounds from the neighbors and the distant wail of a siren. I should go back, Maya whispered into the darkness, just until I can figure something else out. It would keep you and Lily safe. Ethan turned to face her, his expression barely visible in the dim light filtering through the thin curtains. Is that what you want? Of course not, but I don't see another way. There's always another way, Maya. We just haven't found it yet. He's too powerful, Ethan. He has too many resources, too many connections. We can't fight him. Yes, we can. Ethan's voice was firm. We fight him by staying together, by not letting him win, by showing him that love is stronger than money or power or threats. That's a nice sentiment, but it doesn't help us pay rent or keep Lily safe. We'll figure it out, I promise. Ethan reached for her hand in the darkness. I'd rather be poor with you than rich without you, Maya. Don't you understand that by now? Maya felt tears sliding down her temples and her hair. I do. That's why this is so hard, because I feel the same way. From the corner of the room came a small voice. Daddy? Maya, are you fighting? They both sat up to see Lily standing beside their couch, her stuffed rabbit clutched tightly against her chest. No, sweetheart, Ethan said, reaching out to her. We're just talking. Did we wake you? Lily climbed onto the couch between them. I had a bad dream about Maya's daddy taking her away. Maya and Ethan exchanged a glance over the child's head. How much had she overheard? Nobody's taking anybody away, Ethan assured her, smoothing her hair. We're all staying right here together. Promise? Lily looked up at Maya with tear-filled eyes. Maya gathered the little girl into her arms. I promise, Lily. I'm not going anywhere. As she held Lily, feeling the child's small body gradually relax back into sleep, Maya made a silent vow. She would not let her father win. She would not let him destroy this family that had taken her in, loved her, made her one of their own. Whatever it took, whatever she had to do, she would protect Ethan and Lily from William Reynolds' wrath. She just had no idea how. The next 2 weeks were a slow-motion nightmare. True to his word, William Reynolds escalated his campaign against them. Ethan was fired from his gas station job after the owner received a mysterious call about inventory discrepancies. The construction company that had been giving him day work suddenly had no more jobs available. They fell behind on rent for their new apartment. The electricity was shut off for 2 days until they scraped together enough to pay the minimum to get it turned back on. They ate ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches, saving what little protein they could afford for Lily. Maya sold her laptop, then her watch, the last gift from her mother before she died. Ethan pawned his father's old tools, the only inheritance he'd ever received. They were surviving, but barely, and the strain was beginning to show. Lily grew quieter, her usual exuberance dimmed by the tension around her. She stopped asking for bedtime stories, as if sensing that her parents were too tired, too worried to read. Instead, she would curl up beside them on the couch, her small presence both a comfort and a painful reminder of what was at stake. Then, just when they thought things couldn't get worse, they did. Ethan returned from another fruitless day of job hunting to find an official-looking letter in their mailbox. As he read it, the blood drained from his face. What is it? Maya asked, seeing his expression. A notice of a custody hearing. Ethan's voice was hollow. Someone reported concerns about Lily's living conditions. They've scheduled an emergency evaluation. Maya felt the floor drop out from under her. He did it? He actually did it. This isn't happening. Ethan sank onto the couch, the letter crumpled in his fist. They can't take her from me. They can't. Maya sat beside him, her own shock giving way to a cold, clear rage. No, they can't, and they won't. That night, after Lily was asleep, Maya made a decision. She would confront her father one last time. Not to surrender, but to end this once and for all. "I'm coming with you," Ethan said when she told him her plan. "No, he needs to see me alone. He needs to understand that I'm not the same person who walked out 6 months ago, that I won't be bullied or threatened or manipulated anymore. It could be dangerous. He's my father, Ethan. For all his faults, he would never physically hurt me." Maya wasn't sure if she believed that anymore, but she needed Ethan to stay with Lily. "Please, I need to do this alone." Reluctantly, Ethan agreed. The next morning, Maya took the bus to the expensive hotel downtown where her father was staying while in Cedar Falls. The receptionist recognized the Reynolds name immediately and directed her to the penthouse suite. Maya took a deep breath before knocking on the door. The woman who answered wasn't her father, but his assistant, Carolyn, who had been with him for as long as Maya could remember. "Miss Reynolds," Carolyn said, her professional demeanor barely hiding her surprise. "Your father is expecting you." Of course he was. He'd orchestrated every move in this sick game, always staying 3 steps ahead. William Reynolds was sitting in the suite's living room, reading the Wall Street Journal. He looked up as Maya entered, his expression unreadable. "Sophia, or do you still prefer Maya?" "I don't care what you call me," Maya said, remaining standing, even as he gestured to a chair. "I'm here to tell you to stop. Call off the custody hearing. Leave Ethan and Lily alone." William folded his newspaper carefully. "I assume this means you're ready to come home." "No, it means I'm done playing your games. I'm not coming home. I'm not marrying Harrison Porter. I'm staying right where I am, with the family I've chosen." "Family?" William's eyebrows rose. "A janitor and his illegitimate child are hardly family." Maya felt her temper flare. "They are more family to me than you have ever been. They love me for who I am, not what I can do for them or how I fit into their plans." "Love." William shook his head as if she were a disappointing student who'd failed to grasp a simple concept. "You can take the money, the name, the power away from me, but you can't take away my right to choose my own life. I found what matters. Real connection, real purpose, real love. Not the cold, transactional relationship you have always offered." A few days after William's threats at the library, there was a knock at the door of their tiny apartment. Maya froze when she saw who it was through the peephole. "It's him," she whispered to Ethan, her face pale. Ethan squared his shoulders. "Let him in. It's time we dealt with this once and for all." When they opened the door, William Reynolds stood there impeccably dressed as always, but something was different about his demeanor. His expression shifted as he took in their small home, the sight of his daughter standing protectively next to Ethan, and little Lily peering curiously from behind them. For the first time since Maya had known him, her father looked uncertain. He stared at them for a long moment, focusing particularly on Lily, who was now clinging to Ethan's leg, her eyes wide and watchful. "Why is he making you cry, Daddy?" Lily asked, her small voice carrying in the tense silence. "Daddies aren't supposed to make their little girls cry." "It's okay," Lily said generously. "My daddy makes mistakes sometimes too, but he always says sorry and gives the best hugs." William smiled for the first time that evening, a real smile that reached his eyes. "You know what? I think your daddy might be exactly what my daughter needs." Ethan and Maya exchanged cautious glances, neither quite believing the sudden shift in William's demeanor. "I've been watching you," William said to Ethan, his voice lacking its previous hostility. "I've seen how you take care of her, how you protect her, even when it costs you everything." "And," Ethan replied warily, positioning himself slightly in front of both Maya and Lily, "I'm beginning to think I might have misjudged you." William sat down heavily in their one good chair, suddenly looking older than his 62 years. "I lost my wife when Sophia, Maya, was 12. Since then, I've tried to control everything in her life because I was terrified of losing her too. But I'm losing her anyway, aren't I?" Ethan glanced at Maya, who was watching her father with a mixture of hope and caution. "She loves you," Ethan said carefully. "She's just tired of being treated like a business asset instead of a daughter." William nodded slowly, his hands folded in his lap. "I want her to be happy. I want her to be safe. I thought that meant marrying someone from our world, someone who could provide for her the way she's accustomed to living." "She doesn't need luxury to be happy," Ethan said. "She needs to be respected, to have her choices matter." To be loved for who she is rather than what she's worth. And you love her for who she is. The question hung in the air between them. Ethan could feel Maya's eyes on him, could sense Lily listening from behind his legs, and could feel the weight of everything they'd built together resting on his answer. I love her for everything she is, Ethan said, his voice steady and certain. Her intelligence, her kindness, her strength. I love how she makes terrible coffee, but tries anyway. I love how she reads 3 books at once and gets the plots confused. I love her laugh, her stubbornness, and the way she sees the best in everyone, even when they don't deserve it. He paused, meeting William's eyes directly. I love her so much that I'd let her go if I thought that would make her happier. William was quiet for a long time, studying Ethan with the calculating gaze of a man who'd spent his life reading people. Finally, he turned to his daughter. Is this what you want, Maya? This life, this man? Yes, she said without hesitation, reaching for Ethan's hand. I want Ethan. I want our life together, whatever that looks like. William sighed deeply, the sound of a man surrendering a battle he'd been fighting for too long. Then I suppose I need to learn to accept that. But I have conditions. Ethan tensed, expecting more ultimatums, but William held up a hand. Not the kind you're thinking. I want you both to come to dinner next week at my home in Greenwich. I want to get to know the man my daughter loves, and I want to apologize properly for the threats and the pressure. I want to try to be a better father. And if you decide you still don't approve, Maya asked, her voice cautious, then I'll have to learn to live with disappointment, William said sadly, because I'd rather have you in my life on your terms than not have you at all. As William turned to leave, he paused at the door. The custody hearing, I'll have my lawyers withdraw the complaint first thing in the morning. And Ethan, there's a position opening up at the university's maintenance department. Building supervisor. The current one is retiring next month. I believe you're qualified. I don't want charity, Ethan said stiffly. It's not charity, it's me fixing what I broke. William looked genuinely remorseful. I can't undo all the damage I've done, but I can at least help you get back on your feet. The job is yours if you want it, but you'll have to interview it like anyone else. I've just made sure your application won't get lost in the shuffle. After William left, Maya and Ethan stood in stunned silence, both trying to process what had just happened. Do you think he means it? Maya finally asked. Or is this just another tactic? Ethan shook his head slowly. I don't know, but I think Lily got through to him in a way we couldn't. Sometimes it takes a child to point out the obvious. What do we do now? We go to dinner, I guess. See if he's serious. But we stay cautious, Maya. People don't change overnight, especially not men like your father. Maya nodded, leaning into Ethan's embrace. Thank you for standing up to him, for standing by me. You said all the right things. I just told the truth, Ethan said simply, pressing a kiss to her forehead. That's the easy part. The week leading up to their dinner at William's mansion was tense, filled with preparations and anxieties. Maya spent hours going through her meager wardrobe, trying to find something appropriate for Lily to wear. Ethan polished his dress shoes until they gleamed, trying to compensate for the worn spots on his only suit jacket. The morning of the dinner, Maya received a call from her former supervisor at the financial aid office. Maya, I don't know what happened, but your father just made a massive donation to the Student Emergency Fund, and he specifically requested that you be offered your job back, with a promotion to assistant director. Maya nearly dropped the phone. What? I know, I couldn't believe it either. He said something about recognizing your talents being wasted. The position is yours if you want it, starting Monday. After hanging up, Maya told Ethan about the call. Do you think it's real? That he's really trying to make amends? I'm not sure, Ethan said cautiously, but it seems like a good sign. Just let's not get our hopes up too high, okay? As evening approached, they dressed in their best clothes and caught the train to Greenwich, Maya anxiously straightening Lily's hair and adjusting Ethan's tie throughout the journey. The mansion, when they finally stood before it, was even more intimidating than Maya had remembered. It's really big, Lily whispered as they approached the front door, her small hand clutching Maya's tightly. It's just a house, Maya said, though her own voice was tight with nervousness. The people inside are what matter. The door opened before they could ring the bell, revealing William Reynolds in casual clothes, a sight Maya couldn't remember ever seeing before. You came, he said, relief evident in his voice. Please come in. The entrance hall was imposing with its marble floors and sweeping staircase, but William led them quickly through to a smaller, more intimate sitting room where a fire burned in the hearth. I thought we'd be more comfortable in here, he explained. The formal dining room always felt too stiff. Lily was wide-eyed, taking in the elegant surroundings with undisguised wonder. Your house is very big, she announced to William. Yes, it is, William replied with a smile. But our apartment is warmer, Lily added decisively. An awkward silence fell, but to everyone's surprise, William laughed. You know, I think you might be right about that, he said to Lily. This place hasn't felt warm in a very long time. He knelt down to Lily's level, something Maya had never seen her father do with any child. Would you like a tour before dinner? I think there might be some things here you'd enjoy seeing. Lily looked up at Ethan for permission, and when he nodded, she took William's offered hand. Do you have any toys? Not many, I'm afraid, but I do have a room full of books, and there's a special dollhouse that used to belong to Maya when she was little. As William led Lily away, promising to show her the dollhouse, Maya turned to Ethan with tears in her eyes. I can't believe he kept that. I thought he'd gotten rid of everything from my childhood years ago. They followed William and Lily through the mansion, watching as the older man patiently answered each of the child's many questions. He showed her the library with its floor-to-ceiling shelves, the music room with the grand piano Maya's mother had played, and finally a small room tucked away at the end of a hallway. This was Maya's room when she was your age, William explained, opening the door to reveal a perfectly preserved child's bedroom. The walls were a soft yellow, the bed covered in a handmade quilt, and there on a special table stood an elaborate Victorian dollhouse, complete with tiny furniture and miniature people. It's beautiful, Lily breathed, approaching the dollhouse reverently. Your mother made this, Maya said to William, touching the quilt with trembling fingers. I didn't know you kept it. I kept everything, William admitted quietly. After you left, I came in here sometimes, just to remember, to try to understand where I went wrong. The dinner that followed was surprisingly comfortable. William had arranged for a meal that was elegant but accessible. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, fresh vegetables, foods that Lily would recognize and enjoy. He made an effort to include Ethan in the conversation, asking thoughtful questions about his work, his studies, his plans for the future. Maya tells me you're studying for a building management certification, William said as they enjoyed dessert. Ethan nodded, still somewhat wary. Yes, I've got one more semester to go. The program focuses on sustainable building practices, energy efficiency, that kind of thing. Impressive, William said, and he seemed to mean it. There's growing demand for that expertise. Have you considered where you'd like to work after certification? Ideally, I'd stay at Westbrook, Ethan replied. I know the campus, and they have some older buildings that could really benefit from energy retrofits. But with everything that's happened, the position is still open, William assured him. And from what I understand, you were already on the short list before I interfered. I don't want special treatment, Ethan said firmly. I want to earn my position. William studied him for a moment, then nodded. I respect that, and I think you will earn it on your own merits. I've simply removed the obstacles I put in your way. As the evening progressed, William began to see what Maya saw in Ethan. His genuine kindness, his quick intelligence, his absolute devotion to her happiness. For his part, Ethan began to understand William a little better. The grief that had hardened into control, the fear of loss that had twisted into domination. It was during coffee that William finally asked the question that had been haunting him since the day Maya had walked out of his life. What are your intentions with my daughter, he said, setting down his cup and looking directly at Ethan. Ethan met his gaze without flinching. I intend to love her, protect her, and support her dreams for the rest of my life if she'll have me. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is, Ethan replied, his voice steady and confident. You want to know if I'm going to marry her, if I have some grand plan for our future. The truth is, I'd marry her tomorrow if she wanted that, but only because I can't imagine my life without her. Not because of who her father is or what she might inherit someday. William leaned back in his chair, studying the young man who had captured his daughter's heart. And if she inherits nothing? If I decide to leave everything to charity? Ethan shrugged, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Then we'll keep working, keep building our life together, one day at a time. We've been poor together, and we've been happy. I think we can handle whatever comes next." Lily, who had been quietly coloring at the end of the table, looked up. "Are you Maya's daddy?" she asked William suddenly. "Yes, I am," William replied, surprised by the question. "Then why did you make her sad? Daddies aren't supposed to make their little girls cry." The simple question, asked without accusation or judgment, seemed to strike William to the core. "You're right," he said softly. "I did make her sad. I made a lot of mistakes. My daddy says mistakes are okay if you learn from them and try to do better," Lily informed him seriously. William glanced at Ethan with newfound respect. "Your daddy is a very wise man." Later, as they prepared to leave, William pulled Maya aside while Ethan helped Lily with her coat. "I owe you an apology, Maya. Many apologies, in fact. I was so focused on what I thought you needed that I never stopped to ask what you wanted. I was so afraid of losing you that I almost drove you away completely." "You did drive me away," Maya said quietly. "Yes, I did, and I'm sorry, truly sorry." William took her hands in his eyes filled with regret. "I kept thinking I was protecting you, but really I was controlling you. I was so afraid after your mother died. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you too. But I see now that my fear nearly cost me my daughter anyway." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. This was the father she remembered from her childhood, before her mother's death had turned him cold and distant. "I've missed you, Dad, the real you." "I've missed you too, more than you know." William squeezed her hands. "Can we start again? Can you give me a chance to be the father you deserve?" "I'd like that," Maya said softly. "But you have to accept Ethan and Lily. They're my family now too." "I know." William glanced over at Ethan, who was patiently helping Lily button her coat. "And I think I might have been wrong about him. He loves you for all the right reasons. That's more than I can say for most of the men in our circle." As they said their goodbyes at the door, William surprised them all by kneeling down to Lily's level once more. "Thank you for visiting me," he said seriously. "Would it be all right if I came to see you sometimes? Maybe bring that dollhouse for you to play with?" Lily considered this solemnly. "Yes, but you have to be nice to Maya and Daddy. No more making them sad." "I promise," William said. And for once, it seemed like a promise he intended to keep. Over the following months, William kept his word. He didn't interfere in their relationship, didn't try to change Maya's mind or buy Ethan off with job offers or financial incentives. Instead, he slowly became part of their lives in a way that mattered, visiting their modest apartment, taking them to dinner, learning to appreciate the simple joy they found in each other's company. Gradually, he began to understand what his daughter had tried to tell him, that love wasn't something you could arrange or negotiate or purchase. It was something you had to choose every day, through good times and bad. One evening, about 3 months after their first dinner at the mansion, William arrived at their apartment with a large envelope in his hands. "What's this?" Maya asked as he handed it to her. "Just some papers I thought you might want to look over," William said, a hint of nervousness in his voice. "When you have time, no pressure." After he left, Maya opened the envelope to find detailed plans for a nonprofit organization aimed at helping first-generation college students navigate the complex world of financial aid and scholarships. "He wants to fund this," she told Ethan, spreading the papers on their small kitchen table. "A foundation where I'd be the director, working directly with students who need help understanding their options, their rights." Ethan studied the proposal. "It's a good idea. You're amazing at breaking down those complicated systems for people. But is it just another way for him to control me, to bring me back into his world?" "I don't think so," Ethan said thoughtfully. "Look at the structure. You'd have complete autonomy over the daily operations. The board would be independent, not just his cronies. And the funding is set up as an endowment, not something he could threaten to withdraw if you don't do things his way." Maya read through the details again. "It's actually perfect. It's exactly the kind of work I've been doing, just on a larger scale, with actual resources to help more students." Then maybe it's exactly what it seems to be, a father trying to support his daughter's passion, not control it. William continued to surprise them in the months that followed. He showed up for Lily's kindergarten graduation, sitting proudly in the audience as she received her certificate. He helped Ethan study for his final exams, drawing on his own business experience to provide insights into building management and sustainability. He began having regular lunch dates with Maya, where they talked not about business or obligations, but about books, ideas, memories of her mother. I used to think happiness was measured in acquisitions, William admitted to Ethan one evening as they sat on the balcony of the apartment, watching Maya and Lily play a board game inside. More properties, more deals, more money. After Elizabeth died, I threw myself into building the business, thinking if I could just create enough security, enough wealth, I could protect Maya from ever feeling the pain I felt. That's understandable, Ethan said. Every father wants to protect his child. But I was protecting her from the wrong things. William's gaze remained on his daughter, who was laughing at something Lily had said. I was so busy building walls around her that I didn't see I was walling her in, not keeping danger out. It's never too late to change, Ethan offered. William nodded, a small smile touching his lips. You know, when I first met you, I couldn't understand what she saw in you. No money, no connections, nothing I valued. But now I see it. You gave her the one thing I never could, freedom to be herself, to be loved for who she is, not what she represents. That's not hard to do, Ethan said simply. She's pretty amazing just as she is. William chuckled. On that, we can agree. Inside, Maya watched the two men talking on the balcony, her heart full. She'd never imagined this outcome, her father and Ethan finding common ground, her two worlds merging rather than colliding. It wasn't perfect, and there were still moments of tension, old habits that died hard. But it was real, and it was healing, and it was more than she had dared to hope for. One evening, after William had left following a dinner at their apartment, Maya found him lingering in the hallway, staring at a photo of her mother that she kept on a small shelf. She would have liked him, William said quietly, not turning around. Ethan, Elizabeth always had a good sense about people. She would have seen what I missed. Maya came to stand beside him, looking at the photo of the mother she'd lost too young. I think she would have too. I kept her at a distance, you know, William continued, his voice heavy with regret. After we got married, after we had you, I was so busy building the business, creating our fortune. I thought I was doing it all for her, for you, but really, I was hiding in the work. It was safer than being vulnerable, than risking the pain of loving someone so completely. Dad, no, let me finish. When she died, I doubled down on that strategy. I buried myself in work, in control, in plans and acquisitions. I couldn't bear to look at you sometimes because you reminded me so much of her. So I sent you to boarding school. I arranged your life from a distance. I treated you like another asset to be managed. Tears slid down William's cheeks, surprising Maya, who had never seen her father cry, not even at her mother's funeral. I kept thinking if I could just plan everything perfectly, I could keep you safe, keep you from experiencing loss the way I had. But in doing so, I became the source of your pain. I'm so sorry, Maya. Maya felt her own tears falling as she reached for her father's hand. I know, Dad. I know. That night marked a true turning point in their relationship. William began to open up, to share stories about her mother that Maya had never heard, to reveal the man he had been before grief had calcified around his heart. I thought I was keeping her memory alive by trying to create the life she would have wanted for you, William confessed one evening. But I think what I was really doing was avoiding my grief, channeling it into control instead of actually feeling it. You know what I remember about Mom? Maya said, curled up on the couch beside her father in their small living room. How she used to laugh, how she made everyone around her feel important. She never cared about the money, Dad. She cared about connection. William nodded, his eyes distant with memory. She was the heart, and I was the head. After she died, there was just the head, calculating and cold. I forgot how to be the heart. You're remembering now, Maya said gently. I see it when you're with Lily, when you actually listen instead of just waiting to speak. Mom would be proud of that. The foundation, which they named the Elizabeth Reynolds Memorial Foundation for Educational Access, opened its doors in the fall, with Maya as its executive director. The work was challenging but deeply fulfilling, allowing her to help students like those she'd met in the financial aid office, but on a much larger scale, with resources to make a real difference. Ethan, meanwhile, completed his certification program with honors and was officially appointed building supervisor at Westbrook University. The position came with a substantial raise, regular hours, and the respect of colleagues who recognized his skill and dedication. Their little family settled into a new rhythm, more secure but no less loving than before. They still lived modestly. Maya had insisted they keep their apartment rather than move into something more luxurious that William offered. But the desperate edge of poverty was gone. They could afford proper groceries, new shoes for Lily's growing feet, even occasional treats like dinner out or a movie. William became a regular presence in their lives, joining them for Sunday dinners, helping Lily with her homework, engaging in spirited debates with Ethan about sustainable building practices. He was learning slowly but surely how to be part of a family rather than in control of one. "I think you've changed, my father," Maya told Ethan one night as they lay in bed, the sounds of the city quiet outside their window. "I've never seen him like this, open, vulnerable, actually listening to people." "I think Lily changed him more than I did," Ethan replied, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on Maya's shoulder. "Kids have a way of cutting through all the bullshit, of seeing what really matters." "Maybe," Maya agreed, "or maybe he just needed to see that there are different ways to love, different kinds of success than what he'd always believed in." When Ethan finally proposed on a snowy February evening, exactly 1 year after their first kiss, he did it with a ring he'd saved for months to buy. It wasn't the largest diamond or the most expensive setting, but it was chosen with care and given with a heart full of love. They were walking home from the library where they'd first met, Lily skipping between them just as she had that magical night a year ago when Ethan suddenly stopped walking. "Maya," he pulled the small velvet box from his pocket, "I don't have much to offer you except my heart and my promise that I'll spend every day trying to deserve your love. Will you marry me?" Through happy tears, Maya said yes, and as Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, Lily cheered and threw her arms around both of them. Passers-by stopped to smile at the small family celebrating in the snow, and for a moment, the whole world felt full of magic. When they called William to share the news, his voice was thick with emotion. "Welcome to the family, son," he said to Ethan. "I couldn't have chosen better myself." The wedding was held 6 months later in the community center, where Ethan had started working as a building supervisor. The night classes had finally paid off with a promotion that doubled his salary and gave them real stability for the first time. The ceremony was small and simple, decorated with flowers from William's garden, and filled with friends from their neighborhood, colleagues from their jobs, and students Maya had helped along the way. William walked his daughter down the aisle, and as he placed her hand in Ethan's, he whispered, "Take care of her heart. It's the most valuable thing she has." Ethan squeezed Maya's hand and smiled at his future father-in-law. "I've been taking care of it since the day we met. I'm not stopping now." At the reception, as William watched Ethan spin Lily around the makeshift dance floor while Maya laughed and clapped along, he felt a peace he hadn't known in years. His daughter was happy, genuinely, radiantly happy, in a way that no amount of money could have purchased. As the evening wound down and the guests began to leave, William found himself alone with the newlyweds and Lily, who had fallen asleep in Maya's lap. "I have something for you," he said, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket. "A wedding gift." Ethan and Maya exchanged glances. "Dad, we talked about this," Maya said firmly. "We don't want your money. We want to build our life ourselves." "It's not money," William said with a mysterious smile. "Open it." Inside the envelope were 3 documents: adoption papers for Lily, making Maya her legal mother, a deed to a small house 3 blocks from their current apartment, and a business proposal for expanding the foundation to include a scholarship program specifically for single parents returning to education. "The house is yours, free and clear," William explained. "Nothing fancy, but it has 3 bedrooms, a yard for Lily to play in, and it's in a good school district. The foundation expansion? Well, I've seen how passionate you both are about helping others who are struggling. I thought you might want to extend that work." "Dad," Maya whispered, tears streaming down her face as she looked at the adoption papers. "You did this?" "Lily is your daughter in every way that matters," William said simply. "This just makes it official. And the house, every family needs a home. Consider it my way of apologizing for trying to destroy the one you'd already built. Ethan was staring at the business proposal, his eyes wide. This would help hundreds of single parents every year. Thousands eventually, William corrected. With Maya's expertise and your understanding of what it's like to struggle, I think you could change a lot of lives. We can't accept all this, Maya said, though her voice lacked conviction. It's too much. It's not charity, William replied. It's an investment into your happiness, in your future, and in the good you can do in the world. Besides, he added with a grin, I'm a businessman. I expect a return on my investment in the form of grandchildren, family dinners, and the occasional phone call from my daughter. 6 months later, they moved into their new home, a modest but comfortable house with a front porch where Lily could ride her bike and a backyard where they could have barbecues with their neighbors. The Elizabeth Reynolds Foundation expanded its programs to include the Single Parent Scholarship Initiative, which quickly became one of its most successful endeavors. Maya and Ethan worked together to develop a holistic approach that addressed not just financial aid, but also childcare, flexible scheduling, and emotional support for parents trying to balance education and family responsibilities. Their first year, they helped 47 single parents navigate the complex world of college financing. Their second year, that number doubled. By their third year, they had satellite offices in 5 states and helped more than 300 families achieve their dreams of higher education. But the real success was measured in smaller moments. Saturday morning pancakes around their kitchen table, with Lily chattering about her latest art project, while Ethan and Maya shared coffee and plans for the day. William's monthly visits, where he would sit on the floor playing dolls with his granddaughter, or help Ethan fix the leaky faucet in the guest bathroom. Family dinners where they would talk about work, school, dreams, and the future they were building together. Quiet evenings on their front porch, watching Lily play with the neighborhood children, while Ethan and Maya planned their next initiative to help struggling students. The greatest joy came 2 years after their wedding, when they welcomed a son they named James after Ethan's mentor who had helped him when Lily was a baby. William, who had once been so consumed with business that he'd missed most of Maya's childhood milestones, became a doting grandfather who never missed a school play, a baseball game, or a chance to babysit. I get a do-over, he explained to Ethan one day as they watched the children play in the backyard. A chance to be the kind of father, grandfather, I should have been the first time around. You're doing a pretty good job, Ethan assured him and meant it. Over the years, their relationship with William continued to evolve. The once formidable businessman learned to appreciate the simple pleasures of family life. Backyard barbecues, movie nights, helping with homework. He still ran his empire, but with a new perspective, implementing family-friendly policies at his companies and establishing scholarship programs for employees' children. He even began to cut back his own work hours, delegating more responsibilities to trusted lieutenants so he could spend time with Lily and James. The man who had once measured success in acquisitions and profit margins now found his greatest satisfaction in teaching his grandson how to fly a kite or reading bedtime stories to his granddaughter. You've changed, Maya observed one afternoon as she watched her father patiently showing James how to build a model airplane, his expensive suit jacket draped over a chair, his sleeves rolled up, completely unconcerned about the glue getting on his hands. William looked up with a smile. For the better, I hope. Definitely for the better. I never thought I'd see the day when William Reynolds would choose a Saturday with his grandkids over a board meeting. Neither did I, William admitted. But it turns out there are more important things than another merger or acquisition. I wish I'd learned that lesson earlier. It's never too late, Maya said, echoing Ethan's words from months ago. No, William agreed, watching as James concentrated on attaching a tiny wing. It's not too late at all. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Ethan and Maya returned to the library where they'd first met. William had volunteered to watch the children, insisting they take the evening for themselves. Remember that night? Ethan asked as they walked through the quiet stacks, hand in hand. You were so proud, even though you were exhausted and hungry. And you were so kind, Maya replied, squeezing his hand, even though you had every reason to just kick me out and do your job. They found the table in the reference section where Maya had been sleeping that fateful night. It looked smaller somehow, less significant than the place it held in their memories. What do you think would have happened if I hadn't found you that night? Ethan asked, pulling Maya close. I don't know, nothing good probably. Maya rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. But you did find me, and everything changed. Later that night, as they sat on their front porch swing, watching the fireflies dance in the gathering dusk, Maya curled up against Ethan's side. Do you ever regret it? She asked quietly. Taking in that broke college student who turned your whole life upside down. Ethan laughed, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Every single day, he said, and when she looked up at him in mock outrage, he grinned. I regret not finding you sooner. That's terrible, Maya said, but she was smiling. You're terrible. And you're stuck with me, Ethan replied, pulling her closer. Mrs. Cole. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the fireflies dance in the gathering dusk, listening to the distant sounds of their neighborhood settling in for the night. You know, Maya said thoughtfully, when I walked out of my father's house that night, I thought I was leaving everything behind. My family, my security, my future. I never imagined I'd be finding my way home instead. Ethan squeezed her hand, understanding exactly what she meant. Because sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones we choose to build, one act of love at a time. In the years that followed, their family flourished in ways none of them could have predicted. The Reynolds Foundation expanded its reach, helping thousands of students navigate the often overwhelming world of higher education financing. Maya's innovative approaches drew attention from education policy experts, while Ethan's practical experience provided crucial insights into the real challenges facing working-class students. William, true to his word, remained a constant presence in their lives. Not the controlling, demanding father of the past, but a supportive, loving grandfather who delighted in the simple joys of family life. He still ran his business empire, but with a new perspective, implementing family-friendly policies and establishing scholarships for employees' children. Lily grew into a confident young woman with her father's practical nature and Maya's determination. She never forgot the early years in that tiny apartment, and it shaped her into someone who valued people over possessions, kindness over status. When she decided to become a teacher, focusing on children from disadvantaged backgrounds, no one who knew her was surprised. James inherited his grandfather's head for business, but his parents' heart for service. From an early age, he showed a gift for bringing people together, for finding common ground where others saw only differences. And through it all, at the center of this remarkable family, stood Ethan and Maya, two people who had found each other in the most unlikely of circumstances and built something beautiful together. One evening, as they celebrated their 10th anniversary with a quiet dinner after the children had gone to bed, Maya raised her glass to Ethan. To the man who saw me at my lowest and still thought I was worth bringing home, she said softly. Ethan smiled, the same smile that had warmed her heart that first night in the library. To the woman who taught me that the richest life has nothing to do with money. As they clinked glasses, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a chance meeting in a library to this moment of quiet celebration in the home they had built together. It hadn't always been easy. There had been struggles, setbacks, moments of doubt, but through it all, they had chosen each other, again and again, day after day. And in that choice, that daily deliberate act of love, they had found a wealth that no fortune could match. A richness of spirit, of purpose, of connection that truly was the love money couldn't buy. Because sometimes the most valuable things in life are the ones that can't be measured in dollars and cents. Sometimes the greatest treasures are found not in mansions or bank accounts, but in the moments of genuine connection, in the knowledge that you are loved for exactly who you are, in the family you build through choice rather than chance. And that, Maya knew with absolute certainty as she looked at the man she loved, was the truest wealth of all.